Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Yes, I'm finally continuing the school series that everyone so much loves with the one I'm sure most people are the most excited for, which is Storm. Now, I would like to say, obviously, if you know my kind of opinions on Storm, you might already have an idea of what this video is going to be, but I want to preface this video by saying this has nothing to do with the people who play Storm. I know that I rag on Storm Wizards all the time for eating crayons, and I do think it's really funny because they do, but that's not what this video is on. My opinion on Storm was formed completely before I even had the opinion that Storm Wizards were crayon eaters. So today I want to get into that, and I'm going to start by telling you guys a little bit of a story. A story that I want you to think about and keep in mind when it comes to Storm and how my opinion of Storm got formed. So let's start with the beginning, as stories usually do. Starting in about 2014, I created my first Storm Wizard. This Storm Wizard I quested up for a while. It took a few months. I got a decent pet, the first decent pet I'd ever actually even gotten in this game on my Storm. He had a full waterworks gear, everything along those lines, and he was about 96. Then in about 2016, I eventually decided that I didn't want that Storm Wizard anymore and deleted him because of how bored I was. Now, continuing on, come 2019, right? I make my first Let's Play series, my balanced Let's Play series, and I get decently far into it. I get all the way up into Chrysalis and eventually finish Chrysalis, and I want a bit of a break. So what I do is I start a new Let's Play series because that's, you know, pretty fun. Why not? And that Let's Play series was a Storm Let's Play series because I was so used to balance, and balance being a struggle, I wanted something different, which was the Storm Let's Play series. I quested up through that, having a really easy time, and eventually I got to around level 80 in Avalon. That Storm has since sat there for about 2 years, and I haven't quested on him at all, and I never planned to. In fact, if I ever had needed space on that account, I probably would have deleted him months ago, but I don't have that many wizards on that account, so I've never had to worry about it. Finally, let's talk about my last Storm Wizard that I deleted in my New Year's video that you may know about. This Storm I've had since about 2016, 2017, and I quested him up quite a lot. You know, he had full Malistaire gear, and, you know, he was a decent wizard. He had like 140 damage, and he was only like level 110, 117, something around those lines, and he was in Mirage. The trick is, though, is that he's been in Mirage since Mirage was released, so I hadn't quested him in a long time, and eventually I deleted him. Now, I want you to see if you can find the common theme here. I know this sounds like English class, but trust me, it's not. It's a very easy, I get bored of Storm Wizards, and this is something that is so ridiculously common that I can't even stress enough how common it is. Storm, for me, gets boring incredibly easy. Now, before we go into kind of how my opinions on Storm formed, let's talk about their strengths and weaknesses, because this is actually important to my argument and not just because of how I've been formatting these videos. Well, Storm has a few strengths. First off, they have the highest base damage in the game on any spell, and that is very evident by just playing them. They have an insane amount of damage, and on top of that, they have Tempest, which is one of the best spells in the game. It's definitely the most versatile spell in the game because you can use it anywhere from 1 pips all the way up to max pips, and it does damage based on that. And it's just a really, really good spell, and I'd argue probably one of the best spells in the game. In regards to weaknesses, they have their accuracy debuff, which is largely gone by the time you reach level 100, so I wouldn't consider that too much of a weakness. And then you have their health, which is actually a genuine weakness. Storm has the lowest health in the game by a long shot, and that definitely can hurt in the long run. But let's get into why my opinion on Storm formed. Why I think Storm is the most boring school in the entire game. So first off, let's start off with me analyzing something, right? So if you remember, back when I said how each school does when soloing in Wizard101, what I said about Storm is that Storm is incredibly easy to solo if you know what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, you struggle with them. And that right there is the crux of the issue when it comes to my opinion on Storm. I am an extremely experienced player. I've been playing this game since 2011, and I've definitely known how to play it well since at least 2015, and I would consider myself incredibly well versed in PvE. Now, that's not just like tooting my own horn, you know, that's not me just being like, yes, I'm a god. That's me saying that I am an experienced player. And when it comes to Storm, if you are an experienced player, you know how to navigate them. You know the ins and outs of the school, and you know exactly how to use them. In my case, I knew how to use Storm, and I knew how to use it well. Storm, with their already massive damage, gets even higher when you do stuff like get monstrous at an early level in terms of TCs, double fainting, and having a good pet. If you have all of these things, Storm is ridiculously easy, because having high base damage means that they can very easily use feints and use monstrous to boost that damage even further to an insane degree. And this is something that I saw in my Let's Play series. When I was playing on Storm, I was breezing through the game. Even Avalon bosses, when I got to that point, I was easily going through the game, and that wasn't going to stop. I know some people may think like, oh, Azteca bosses and oh, Chrysalis bosses, they're scary. Well, that wasn't going to stop. I'm telling you right now, I was very easily breezing through the game, soloing on a Storm, and the only thing I probably would have struggled with was Azteca bosses hitting like trucks, but even then, I definitely would have been fine, and I would have been able to do it within 1 to 2 tries each time for each boss. And I know that that's what would have happened, and that's why I stopped playing, because I was bored already, and I could see that I was only going to get more bored. And that comes to just the biggest crux of the issue is redundancy. If you know what to do, theoretically, you could use Tempest for every spell. And I know that people are like, oh, Tempest spammer Storms suck. Well, there's a reason why they spam Tempest, and it's because Tempest is ridiculously overpowered. It's ridiculously broken, and if you know what you're doing, it easily becomes the best spell in this entire game, and that was what bored me, because no matter what, I knew that I was going to win the fight. There wasn't any stakes, and that is what sparks boredom. Now, what I would like to say is I formed this opinion long before the people. I know that I've said in the past that Storm Wizards are kind of, you know, a little bit brainless. They have a little bit problems thinking things through, and that is true, and that's something that I experience a lot and frustrates me, but that is not what formed my opinion on Storm. Storm being boring and Storm being one of my least favorite schools stems purely from me and my experience with Storm as a whole. And now you may be saying, Noah, but some other schools can very easily do what Storm does. Fire has just as high damage later game. Realistically, Death can solo even better than Storm can, and yes, that's true, but the main difference is that Fire and Death have differences. They have things that make them unique and things that make them interesting. Fire has damage over times and doesn't get the highest damage in this game until level 130, which means for the vast majority of this game, you're actually not going to have the highest damage. In fact, you're probably not even going to have the second highest damage, because Fire's gear, especially Waterworks, doesn't give as high damage as most other schools. And that makes Fire a lot less effective, especially early game. In terms of Death, and I've said multiple times, they're the easiest school to solo. Death is interesting because they have unique features. They also have limitations that hold them back, such as not having a 4-pip AoE, and that definitely makes them a struggle, especially Arc 1. Storm, in my opinion, doesn't have such limitations. They get Tempest at level 28, and that spell alone could carry them through the entire game, which is the main issue I have with them, is just the fact that they're really boring. I haven't found them fun in years, and I probably will never have fun playing a Storm again. I know some people were like, Noah, no, why'd you delete your Storm? It's that simple. It's the fact that I know with 100% confidence that until the end of Wizard 101, I will never have fun playing on a Storm Wizard again. Because Storm, for me, genuinely takes the fun out of the game and has for a very long time. So that's really what I wanted to say this video, what I wanted to go over, why I dislike Storm so much, because I think people misunderstand me. They think that when I'm saying that I don't like Storm, they're thinking I'm talking specifically about the people, but that's not true. While some of my opinion about Storm comes from them, The vast majority doesn't. It comes from this issue in of itself, and I wanted to stress that today. So that's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think that Storm is too powerful, too boring? Or do you think that Storm is unique and I am stupid? I'm sure Storm Wizards would probably disagree with me, but trust me when I say you'll eventually experience it. I think at some point you'll experience what I've experienced with Storm and feel bored while playing it. I don't know when that will happen to you. I don't know how that will happen to you, but I think it will. So that's really it for today. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.